acoustichealth.com, home of music from the universe, online healing retreats, and this program. Claim your free registration to daily shows at acoustichealth.com. acoustichealth.com, your portal to the inner realms. Our program starts shortly. Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Welcome, welcome, welcome on this very sacred Trinity Stargate of 12, 12, 12. This is a magical day. It is 2019, but this Stargate of 1212 is a 12, and we are feeling the beautiful energies of alignment with the Trinity Cosmic Stargates. My guest today is here as a crystal messenger. She's got messages from the crystal beings who are here to assist us in this great evolutionary shift. Paige Hall is here, and we are so pleased to introduce you to this lightworker and dolphin being and crystal scout. Paige, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lauren. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, especially on this amazing 12-12-12 Stargate that is just such a special day, really. So I'm delighted to be here.
It is a special day, and you've got messages from the crystal beings, and we're really looking forward to learning how we can literally hold more light with the help of the crystals. This is actually changing us on a cellular level, and we're going to go deep into that in today's quantum conversation. First, though, let's start with you, Paige. The crystal beings, tell us what happened. Something happened before this beautiful gateway of 2012. Something happened before then in your life that allowed you to communicate more deeply, but you've always been a crystal messenger.
Yes, I certainly have, and it's been quite an adventure, let me tell you. I've always been able to communicate with the crystals and receive messages. They've grown for me, and I can give you a little bit of a background. I've sort of, when I was a child, I was really, this whole ascension process for me, or awakening process, has been a little bit reversed because I arrived here in form, you know, as a child, you know, as a crystal, and I could see energy, feel energy, and it was very sparkly and vibrant for me. And I didn't have the language when I was a little child. I didn't have, even when I could speak other languages, crystal languages, light languages, dolphin language, before I could even write, you know, the English alphabet. So that was obviously a little bit confusing to me, but it wasn't to my mother, because I had a mother who was also awakened and was an exceptional clairvoyant and healer. And she gave me my first crystal when I was really young, and it was a rose quartz. And right when I held that rose quartz, I had an instant remembering. And that instant remembering was when I was also a crystal. And so when I was also a higher dimensional being that was brought to the center of Gaia to actually form the crystalline core. And so I could feel what it was like to be a rose quartz, to feel what it was like to actually be a part of the quartz family. And so I was very familiar, and as I grew older, I would start to have even more experiences within the center of the earth, and was shown the crystal cities. I was shown how the human body in this form, I was shown how we were made up of crystals. I was shown how the crystalline grid was functioning and what it was for. I was shown also the way that crystals were communicating with each other, and then amping up our pineal glands and our telepathic abilities. So I had all of this wisdom at a very, very young age. And crystals go with me wherever I am, but I wanted to make sure that everybody realizes that we actually are human crystals, which is why we're, transforming into our crystalline bodies now in this new human form. And so it was sort of a reversal process for me, where I was born with this knowing. I was born awake. And it wasn't until I became, into my teenage years probably, where I was started to have more of a human experience. So it's a little bit reversed for me. But I was, like I said, able to communicate with the crystals, and they would show me exactly what their purpose was. And I was also communicating with the families, the crystal families that were residing, or if you will, they were living inside quartz, mostly quartz crystals. And then I was shown that they were growing for me. And now this was interesting because at first my human mind is in denial that this is actually happening, until I started to take photographs that they're growing. And they're growing families and cities, and then they would burst outside of the crystal core itself and then create new formations outside of the crystal and to grow into points or terminations, and create patterns outside of the crystals. And my mother used to tell me that I wasn't seeing things or in a fantasy world. She knew that I was basically already, let's say, sort of feeding my light body or being able to integrate the diamond light body. And this was at a time when we really weren't talking about this. I mean, I'm 53 in human years, linear years. And, so this was all happening to me before I was even, 9 years old. So when I was working with a Native American, a Cherokee, shaman, a medicine man in, Angel Fire, New Mexico, one year, and I confided in him, and because he was staring at me from across the room, and he was speaking to me, but of course he wasn't moving his mouth. Mm-hmm. And we had a talk after, and then we developed a system for brain balancing with the crystals. And then he looked at me and he said, "Yes, you are a crystal messenger, and yes, the crystals are growing for you because you're going to deliver these messages. That's why you're here." And I never had told anybody else that, besides my mother. So he has since passed, but he was instrumental in the confidence, for me building up my confidence that I was a crystal messenger and a crystal healer. And of course, this goes back to, other civilizations, on this planet, in the times of Lemuria and Atlantis and so forth. But when my experience has been very unique, and I don't necessarily create grids in a sense because I sort of act as a crystal messenger myself. So I am the crystal. So I am sort of the activator. which I know that many of our listeners probably are familiar with now. But I want to let everybody too that even though we're discussing the crystals today, we're having conversation about them, that they don't necessarily need to have, the crystals themselves, because they can tune into the frequencies. And so then I was shown a little later on about the formulation of crystals and the formula of our crystalline DNA and RNA, our blood. I was shown the formula of this crystalline substance. And I was shown which crystals vibrate to certain frequencies and how our DNA that was sort of embedded in our DNA before we came into physical form, that we each have a triad or a trinity of crystals that have been with us throughout, each incarnation. And I was shown how to put together this formula for others, for people, to be able to work with their own personal frequency, because so many people were sort of outside of themselves, feeling that they needed to be, or they weren't going down the right path for them, and because they were really being programmed, and I can get into that in a moment as well. So that's a little bit of a background, and what I love about it is that the messages are so accurate, because it's a formula. I love it when spirit and science, can merge. And then when I started to do more research myself into, somatics and frequency and so forth, I realized that the crystals were actually showing me a formula to assist everyone else that was coming to me with let's just say their current situations, and how quickly we could transform those situations into a more crystalline experience, to get let's say move past the past programming that they'd been or believed. And so it's pretty fascinating, and I absolutely love the crystals. I'm so grateful to the crystals, and there are certain beings that I work with that are just absolutely so high vibrational and phenomenal, and most are of the quartz families. And because you've been to many of the chakra points or the energy vortex centers, around the planet. And most of those are because they're a formulation of frequency from the crystals. So I hope that explains a little bit.
Yes, like the sacred sites, the quartz crystal, right? The quartz in the stone at Machu Picchu. Very fascinating. All right, so you were shown the formula of a crystalline substance. Now, you also talked about seeing that crystals grow for us, that they grow for us, that we are made of crystals, what the crystalline grid is for, all of that. Can you go a little bit deeper on what that was like, to see the crystal city and to see the core and to see crystals grow?
Sure. It's again, it can seem it's like a science fiction film, but it's mostly can be explained by vibration, because the vibration and because crystals, are so well. Let's see. Because when you hold them or you attune to crystals, your frequency and your vibration can shift significantly, because it communicates with the human brain and the nervous system, the circulatory system, the immune system. That's why we get sort of, activated when we go to, many people are drawn to the pyramids, the crystal pyramids, I can give you an example. So like my personal frequency is that of 1. And my void frequency is 7, and I'll get into that in a moment. So I knew that my let's say my pyramid, or that I was a keeper of the aquamarine pyramid that is off of the coast of where I'm currently located. And I knew that because my dolphin guides, showed me what happened there as far as the Atlantean timelines and the Bermuda Triangle and so forth. And I was shown that it was still underwater and what it was used for. So when they showed me that, and this is something that we take for granted sometimes too when we're choosing crystals or working with crystals, it's very important to get permission from the crystals actually to be co-creating with them, because sometimes they're not supposed to be taken from the ground or from the earth or from their caves. But what it was like to see and experience this, I can explain it the most as frequency and the vibration, because the vibrations are so different. For example, I'm going to get into in a moment about which crystals came forth for the 12-12-12 and why they came forth. But it was interesting because they all had a vibration to the frequency of 3. And I thought, oh, wow, okay, I know, I understand why they were coming to me. So it's a frequency. So when a crystal is growing, really what they're doing is they're expanding their field so that they can continue to be of expansive assistance, so that they are able to communicate with our pineal, our telepathic system, which is our pineal gland. So they are communicating. For me, is a very natural, quote unquote, normal thing for me to do, because it is a quantum experience. It is, frequency and sound and vibration. It's the energy. So when you're able to see the energy patterns from the crystals, to me, it ends up being a language. And I know that you've had many on your show, that speak light language or do activations or, work with certain formulas and potions and so forth. And it's because of energy. It's because of the frequencies that maybe that can't really be explained. But for me, I was always receptive to the messages of what they had to say, which I call them the crystallines, because, again, because they were so accurate in their messages, specifically of this window, really, since like the harmonic, convergence. And so they speak a very specific language, which is very mathematical. And this is interesting too, because I was definitely a science geek when I was a child, when I was growing, in school, but I was never math. I could never, the only subject I was really good at was geometry. And, and everything else, just the math was, didn't make sense to me. So it was like the crystals actually assisted me with the geometry, because they started to show me certain patterns and how they were vibrating, how they were spinning, what they were used for, and that made sense to me. But to experience being in a crystal city is, you're not in a physical body, you are a crystalline being that is radiating this rainbow light frequency. So when you see the visuals of the diamond, our diamond core, our diamond light body, our diamond high heart spinning, that's exactly what I see. That's what I'm shown. And so the crystals explain to me also that when they grow from the inside out, which is really what we've been sort of doing, in reverse in a sense, and now we're reversing that, then they're able to actually branch out to communicate further. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you following me? So
yes.
Okay. So their city was an inner city, okay, for example, like in the core. And they are
because we know
vibration.
We know that and there's a little delay on our phone, everyone, so bear with us as we try not to speak over one another. But Paige, the inner earth, the core of the inner earth, it started with the great central core, the great core of the earth, and it's crystal.
Yes. Yes.
And it grew into a city?
Yes. So it was started as a crystal. We all came here eventually at some point as crystals. Okay. But the core of Gaia was a crystal, and it was certain quartz crystals were chosen to form these crystalline cities, which now we know are caves. Okay,
mm-hmm.
part of even Lemuria, in a sense, was a crystal city.
Wow.
Atlantean energies was more the communication of then sort of the next level of let's say shape shifting in a sense. We could shape shift our frequency from dolphin, to human, to elemental. So, but this is all because of crystalline communication. So the frequency and the sound and the vibrations that the crystals, give off, okay, having to do with whichever spin or whichever mathematical frequency that they're vibrating to. And we've seen this, it's been proven. We've seen it with the Tesla, technologies. We've seen this in all sorts of modern day technologies as well. So it really was the first form of, let's say, of form. So it was the first form of form in a sense. So it was the very first form. So we had energy. Okay, was the first, of course, of thought form becoming manifest, into crystals that were the first form. And so if you can visualize it this way, that from that center, then it has to, that center cannot be contained. It has to vibrate out.
Mm-hmm.
So then the cities, okay, are formed from that crystal. And I wish I had sent a picture for you. But for example, you can, if you look at these beautiful crystalline formations of quartz, and you see, let's say, for example, like a twin or a family, that eventually it can't stop growing. It has to keep growing. So, for example, if you were to, and people can do this now, today, you can do experiments. This is what I love about it too, because it's actually can be very tangible, and sometimes people need that proof and not, before they're going to jump into it. Mm-hmm. But, if you are loving on your crystals and you are working with your crystals with a very pure intention in that quantum field, they're going to start, especially quartz, will start to grow for you. And what I love about this also is that it also assists, our light body integration. And as we're moving from that carbon to crystalline as a new human form, it lessens actually even the maybe the quote unquote painful experiences that some are going through with these upgrades and their light body integrations. So the crystals assist tremendously with this, and I know that there is maybe some controversy around that. about, crystals, but our planet wouldn't be made up of all of the crystals that are identifiable if it hadn't been for the original crystalline core as form.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so of course I'm a crystal messenger and a crystal lover, right? But I don't think there are too many people right now that don't love crystals because, they know innately that they are from a crystal. They started as crystal out from the energy form.
I love it. There is an intelligence to crystals, and there's more
Yes.
to be revealed there. It really is like a consciousness. It's a crystalline consciousness,
Yes.
and it's so beautiful. I love what you shared there. I'm holding a crystal right now. I look around, and yes, I've got a lot of quartz crystals, a lot of all different kinds of crystals. And so to think that we can watch our crystals grow, that's amazing. Because sometimes, we've seen crystals break into two pieces, or another time we've seen rainbows appear in crystal. And this is all part of it, isn't it?
Yes, it's part of it. Okay, so when there are crystals, mostly quartz, that, contain a rainbow frequency. Well, we know that especially for New Earth, our New Earth colors, that each color frequency has a specific vibration and is used really for a specific purpose. And so as our consciousness is upgrading, as our consciousness is shifting into crystalline, then we're seeing new colors. And so we're seeing new colors in this, in our light body, but they're a reflection of us. So they're a reflection of how we are upgrading into what I say New Earth colors, because many of us are seeing these New Earth colors that are really iridescent. They're not the same colors that we, may have seen. Even our auras look incredibly different. They're more metallic and platinum-like. So we're vibrating at a higher frequency. So when you have a crystal that is and when you hold your crystals up, especially to the sun, to the solar consciousness, and actually one of the crystals that came in for the show does represent it does assist with the solar codes that we're integrating. So it will vibrate. It will have that rainbow frequency vibration. And it will have usually it'll have a 3 and 6 and 9 vibration. So again, we have this sort of, again, this technology, consciousness technology. It can be it can be termed the same. So and when crystals break off, and that will usually happen organically. It will just loosen up and it will, it'll move off. And my cat, my cat is so attuned to my quartz crystals that when my cat will often point out to me which piece is going to loosen off next, because you can even see the beings in the crystals. You can see the feline beings in the crystals. You can see the dolphin consciousness in the crystals. You can see the galactic energies and beings in the crystals as well. So I have so many photographs, Lauren, that have the crystallines that are in the crystals, living consciousness in the crystals, and that's why their messages are so different. But oftentimes when a crystal breaks off, it's because it really is asking to be of use. So it's asking to be of use. Maybe it's to gift it to someone, or maybe it's also to plant it. Plant it. Where in the earth, where the energy needs to transform, or to to transform.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I've buried crystals all over this planet.
Yeah.
So usually that's what they're for. They could also be when they break off as well. It's not really that they're breaking off; they're sort of detaching from that core, so that it can be of service. It could even be of service with growing your own food. It can be of service for maybe your crystalline water. Or just, it's phenomenal, the amounts of the use of crystals, especially quartz. But and the crystals that came through for today, they're not all quartz, but they're all connected to the 333, which is the 12-12-12 vibration. So and it's really interesting as well because they're also connected to different foods that I was shown that are really specifically important right now for our cellular regenesis as we're moving into that 2020 timeline and choice points. So it's the amount of assistance is nothing less than spectacular. It's spectacular. When I was giving crystal DNA activation sessions, the crystals would just show me where they needed to go, how they needed to be laid out. They would show me which tonal frequency that they were vibrating on, specifically to heal on a cellular level, whether that be for an animal or a plant or a human. They're very communicative. Very, very communicative. But the activation sessions were so successful because they work very quickly because of their frequency is so high. So that was, those sessions were something that I did for many years until they showed me that I was to put them into different types of formulas for feeding the light body.
Yes. All right. And that's the special offer. We're going to talk about that towards the end of our program because it's all relative to what we're speaking about now. But there's ways that people work with you, that you can assist people with this crystal information and feeding the light body. You create personal elixirs, and we'll get into that. In the meantime, people can check out your special offer. So it's really fascinating. Here we are on this day, and the crystal beings who presented themselves for our 12-12-12 message, you're going to share more on that. Before we get there, though, Paige, you were shown how we are made of crystals, and you were shown the crystal grid and what it's for. Can you talk a little bit about that and how we are both connected with that crystalline grid? But that's intriguing.
Sure. Okay. So when I'm shown that we're made of crystals, what I mean by that is that we each carry, for example, one of the most important or the most significant crystals, which is very rare, that I was shown at the beginning of 2019 in January, was a crystal called Quantum Quattro. And Quantum Quattro is essential for DNA repair. So I looked into that. I said, well, what is Quantum Quattro? Because, what is this? And what do you want me to do with this? And I was shown that it's a blend of several crystals in one. So this crystal, for example, was created, from the crystalline consciousness to assist with the quantum field and our DNA upgrades, because it assists with the blood. It assists with the DNA. It assists with the cellular structure. And so when I looked further and deeper into each crystal that was being shown, where was most important within the human body, I dove even further into it, and I was shown which crystals were actually part of the human body. Part of the pineal gland, part of the pituitary gland, part of the thyroid gland. So the endocrine system really is a crystalline system. So we have the properties of these crystals within our cellular structure. So it's just so incredibly fascinating that when we're changing our vibration, or we're shifting our frequency into a higher frequency, we're really just reawakening the crystalline frequency within us, and we are transforming it on the cellular level, on a crystalline level, to release, sort of the toxicity or the density of the old earth, really. But the crystalline grid and what it's for is specifically for transforming. So go back to the ascension date of 12/12/2012, and when we were then focusing so much on the crystalline grid, and I think that, that many of us felt that we were going to, that the planet was going to split off, and there would be a 3D and a 5D and, planetary grid. But that's not what happened. And you've had many other guests, I'm sure, that have spoken about this, but really what happened was that, so we had to reach a certain percentage of consciousness that could communicate with the crystalline grid, so that we would vibrate on a higher consciousness, so that we could hold the energy, for humanity to catch up. So what the crystalline grid is, so that, we're part, the crystalline grid, it's interesting because the term grid for me, I don't use it very much anymore, even though I was a grid worker for many years, because I feel that sort of the grid kind of keeps us in a matrix system. But it's really, so it's just assisting the planet to expand in consciousness. So, many of us, have been doing this work for many, many years. And that's why we go to certain places. That's why we're called. That's why we're called to the mountain at a certain time, or to the ocean, to a sacred site, because we are assisting that crystalline grid to expand in consciousness, to release and purge more. But it's really just the next level of consciousness for Gaia. So when you see the grid, and you see it's not the same, geometrical shapes as other, it's not the same shape. It has like transformed in sort of like a shape of more of like creation. So the grid becomes more of a creator grid. It's not a fixed, it's not a fixated geometrical grid anymore. It's an expanded grid of crystalline consciousness. It's not, I'm not an expert on explaining, sacred geometries, except it's just what it looks like for me and what the crystals show me. As we are becoming to this crystalline process, we work with the crystalline grid as we are becoming, as we're becoming, having our crystalline visions, as we are opening, more of the stargates, that crystalline grid expands and expands with our consciousness. And it works really closely also with the Trinity consciousness and the Triad, which is really closely related to our DNA. So even our DNA is part of that crystalline grid.
Thank you for explaining that. I get that, and we do understand it. We are in a symbiotic relationship with the crystals. And you know what's really a fascinating page? For those who go to, let's say, Arkansas, Hot Springs, Arkansas, Lake Washington. That lake is on a crystal bed, quartz crystal bed, and the energy of the water absolutely is soft, and the crystal energy of the water can be felt. It's palpable. What that does, for my own experience, the crystals acted as a mirror. It showed not so becoming behavior that we could, in a non-judgmental, a self-observational, non-judgmental way. So non-judgmental self-observation allowed me to see, wow, some programs that really needed to go. And it was a gentle way that it allowed it to go because it made it conscious. So when you're saying that, you know, it's related to it's assisting us in higher consciousness, absolutely. And then the next visit to that crystalline water, I was able to work with it a little bit better, to grow with it a little bit better, to manifest with it a little bit better. And it was almost like then we were able to receive a download. This is what's going on, right? This is our symbiotic relationship with the crystals.
Yes. So, for example, and Arkansas, you know, is on quartz, and it's, you know, the mountains, you know, it's all quartz. But you could even go to certain mountain, you know, like the Blue Ridge Mountains as well, which is because of the vibration and because what's within those mountains. The vibration of quartz is in those mountains as well. You can go to other areas as well, such as parts of, you know, different parts of the Hawaiian Islands and the Big Island as well. There's massive quartz activation going on there. And again, that keeps sort of expanding from within outwards. Okay, as the new crystalline, as the old, the crystalline pyramids are, you know, re-emerging. There's even a new island that was created off of the coast of North Carolina, past the Outer Banks, North Carolina, and a new island had formed. Well, that was years of doing grid work there. Years of doing grid work there to, again, for that frequency of that crystalline, and I worked with the Dolphin Collective as well, to reemerge part of that pyramid. So when you go, so for example, when you have a quartz, and there is a difference, you know, they're living beings. Okay, so crystals are living beings, and so they do reflect our you know, our consciousness. They do reflect our state of being. So this is why it's important when folks are working with the crystals that their intention to transform and to transcend, and whatever the work that they're doing with the quartz crystals specifically, or with their grids, is of the highest vibrational intent. Because oftentimes I'll see crystals that, or be even in an area, and I don't want to give a bad rap of any areas, but even if I'm in an area and I go, wow, this isn't vibrating as it should be vibrating right now. It needs to be purified, and that's why we do, as gatekeepers and grid workers, go to certain places, you know. And there is a certain conference that's held, you know, in Arkansas pretty often. I think it's the Earth Keepers conference that's held there and such. However, so for example, like the elixirs that I create because of the crystals, and the sessions that I offer because of the crystals, are to transcend, transform, and transmute the old energies, the denser energies, the thought patterns and the beliefs. And you can see it actually because the crystal can be regenerated or it's for regenesis. So even I noticed that there were some places that I went throughout the years, and my crystals would get they would look rusty and dirty. And I would, and for me, my belief system was, oh no, I can't let that happen to my crystal, right?
Yeah.
And, and I realized that it was really so that I would not unconsciously take on energies that were that I was stepping into a field of, that my crystals would actually take that energy. They would absorb that energy so that my field wasn't affected. And then once I did the proper cleansing of the crystals, then the energy was transmuted. So they hold the frequencies and the energies of those that are carrying the crystals and the locations that they're at. So, that's why, ethically asking permission to take crystals is so important, because some aren't meant to leave. They're not meant to leave. And I love that you shared that with us as well about your experience of going there to Arkansas because it is a very interesting place, and it's very high vibrational, and there's so many different energies, that are working, human and non-human that are working in that area. So that's a beautiful experience that you had that was sort of mirroring back, to you, what you were crystallizing, basically. And this is interesting as well because, yes, I know that, especially on New Earth and, in our New Earth virtues and our, integrity and authenticity is so important. And I think, that the crystals show us that so much. I always feel such integrity. It's just this incredible. They're so authentic in their messages and their purpose, that they are such a part of our New Earth consciousness. And it's always really humbling and an honor, to be a crystal messenger, because I have so much, such a connection and so much respect for knowing, that what my vibration is, what my personal vibration is, knowing what frequency and what principles that I'm here for. And that's why I love the crystal readings, because it gives people more of an in-depth even understanding as to of why they're feeling, how they're feeling, and knowing what their purpose is, or being shown that they were supposed to do something else. I'm going off a little bit here, but they just have such a New Earth frequency to them because of their divination, and just the frequency that they carry, and they have specific soul path purposes, and I love the co-creations with the crystals, and I do carry crystals wherever I go, and most people, that, most way showers and New Earth consciousness teachers do. We work so closely with the crystal because we know that we agreed, to come into human form, into this crystalline frequency. So, we're remembering our frequency, and we are reawakening our crystalline templates. So this is how we're moving into these co-creations on a new earth, because our divine blueprint from the crystals is reawakened. We use the terms Lemurian, and we use these we use these these higher consciousness words or vibrational words, I just relate mostly to crystals. If I could speak in crystal, that's what that's what I would be doing. And I do, and speaking in dolphin is as close as I can get, which is interesting, and maybe for another time. But
yes, there's so much to talk about, Paige. So much to talk about. We will have you back, and we're going to go more deeply into the dolphins and more of that, right? And all of it.
Yes.
But I do want
because
well, you said that you can speak in crystal, and so I know I'm feeling the telepathy from others. Is it possible for you to speak the crystal language?
The way that I speak the crystal language is by being shown the triad that's encoded within our DNA. So that's how I speak crystal, and I speak crystal through the telepathy from the crystals, so that I'm able to deliver these crystal messages. So I've been known as like a crystal whisperer or a crystal messenger because of the telepathic communication that I have. And so I speak in color, I speak in frequency and vibration. The dolphin light language is very similar because, again, it's a trinity consciousness. It's a trinary consciousness. So I have an elixir. It's called a trinary, and it is the frequency of the dolphin and the crystal consciousness combined in the elixir, because each person has a crystalline frequency, and that's a triad. It's encoded within our DNA. So that's how I speak crystalline. And I have a very difficult time at times. I can write. I know I've been writing since I was, before I could even write the English alphabet. I was writing and speaking in different languages. It was so much easier for me. But speaking English is very difficult for me sometimes because I can fast track very quickly to what you were going to say or what's coming in. So it's, I would say that I am still, in the integrating process. Myself was speaking in, English terms. So for me, when the crystals speak to me, I can tune into someone's frequency and their vibration and their triad. I hope that explains it. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, very cool. Well, we're going to take some questions now from our callers. Oh, actually, before we get there, I want to give you a moment. We were going to talk about which crystals came forward for this session today, right? So did you want to share more on those crystals and the message? Oh, my gosh, for 2020, here we are. Beautiful.
And there you go, Lauren, because that was the telepathic message that I was sending out to you. So you got it.
I got your telepathy.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I get giddy because it makes me smile when, when we're communicating again in that quantum field and you're in tune and you're picking up on the message that's being frequented. So, yes. So let me get into this a little bit. The crystals that came through, I meditated with the crystals today and asked what they wanted to say for the 12-12-12. And it was just they were just so beautiful. And in each crystal is a very, very high vibration. And so the crystals that came through for this 12-12-12 gateway, and that are assisting us as we move into these, really epic energies of the 2020 timeline, 2020s, are amethyst, quartz, lapis lazuli, and pyrite. And they're all very different. They're very different vibrations, but their frequency is the vibration of 3. Okay, so I looked and I said, "You're kidding." and it's one that you can't make it up, because they were each vibrate to the 3 frequency, and then we break down 12, 12, 12, and it's the 3, 3, 3. So what they told me was amethyst was sharing that because our pineal glands are being constantly we're moving into this crystalline consciousness. It forms within that pineal gland, and so it was showing me that it's assisting with our, let's say, the the soul star, the stellar gateway, the crown, the third eye, that whole energy centers on a very deep, deep cellular level. And then it's assisting on the cellular level for the brain. So it's balancing the brain to be able to handle the new frequencies and the new energies, the crystalline frequencies. It's also assisting the neural processes and the entire endocrine system, because it's so important in our physical transition as we move into 2020, that these are the next synapses that are being crystallized and upgraded. So amethyst was very adamant that that it come in to assist. And amethyst is quartz as well. And then with lapis, it's an extremely high vibration as well. And it was showing me that basically we're sort of, our diamond heart is already come online. So they weren't focusing on the thymus heart area. They were all focusing on from the throat on up. And so the lapis was showing me about, again, assisting with the crystalline process of the crown in the third eye area in the throat, and with a really extremely high vibration, and that it was working again with the pineal and the thyroid and the pituitary glands, again the endocrine system, because it's upgrading the eyesight. And many, I know that people that come to me are having blurred vision, and so it's assisting with the eyesight, specifically in the nervous system, as well as, the tubes, the ears and the tubing in the ears, and the thyroid, which again has been kind of, in a sense, I don't like to use this word, but it's been compromised in a sense. The thyroid has been, and our thyroid is detoxing on a major, major level right now. So then the pyrite was showing me that it's been assisting us ever since the Lion's Gate, working, yes, with this sort of the Leo Lion's Gate energies, and it's assisting with like the composition of our cellular structure, as we are downloading the solar codes. And it's assisting the whole composition of our cellular structure to reduce like inflammation. And it was showing me that it's assisting with our DNA and our RNA in the blood, as is the lapis. And so they were showing me how intricately that they're working with us, as we are becoming more and more crystalline, our consciousness, but our bodies are, our physical vessels are becoming so crystalline, and we have proof of this now, but we need a little bit more help, and we're going to need more help as we're moving into the 2020s, because we're still expanding, We're still raising our consciousness. We're still becoming crystalline. And they also were showing me, and this goes into the sessions that I offer for feeding the light body, but I am one of those people that does talk about the physical body because we're in a physical vessel, and we want to function and vibrate at the highest frequency possible, and we do need to do this with certain practices. But I was shown that for the cellular regenesis to occur, with amethyst and lapis and pyrite, who is assisting, us on such a cellular level, on the neural level, on the DNA level, and on the solar level, that they gave me some specific words, and they were, I know that we do focus on things like blue-green algae, and we focus on things like spirulina and things to assist with the detoxifications. But they were showing me specifically, I hope it's okay to share this, Lauren.
Yes, sure.
Because it might help our listeners. But they were showing me that the selenium was very important. Now, I can't prescribe,
yes.
But selenium was very important as we move into 2020. Cell salts were very, very important, specifically bioplasma cell salt and celery. And then they showed me to cleanse everything with selenite. So, of course, me being the researcher that I am, made so much more sense to me because I do really like to have tangible, discussions. And I realized, okay, because this is for cellular regenesis, and of course celery, cell salt, selenite, and selenium, that's what their message was for us as we're moving into 2020 to assist our, our integration, our crystalline integration. So I hope that's helpful for, our listeners.
Yes, and so celery juice has been quite the rage and really good for people. It's a tonic, so it helps people detox and cleanse, and so that's amazing. What do you know then about celery? Anything else you can add about it? Like, what is it doing?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. We didn't really get into it on this show, but anybody that's listening can read my bio if they want. But I am a detoxification specialist for cellular regenesis, and I do have a template called Feeding the Light Body. And celery juice, and I've been a detoxification specialist for, 15 years. Celery juice has mineral salts in it that truly detoxify on the cellular level, specifically for the endocrine system, for the adrenals, for the kidneys, for the thyroid system, for it assists the sort of the gut-brain connection. Detoxifies. It's an antiviral. It specifically assists with creating a healthier bile for the liver. It is, it's absolutely essential to, again, I can't make any medical diagnoses and prescriptions here, but, as a detoxification specialist, I can just say that juicing celery on a daily basis, it also assists with our crystalline or our cellular detoxification, and it raises our vibration and opens up that telepathic gateway that so many are craving, really. It's sort of that next level. And so you can do this really by juicing celery because it works on such a deep cellular level, and because it carries the properties of selenite, which is cleansing crystal, which is, works with the water, systems of the body. So again, on a molecular level, it's working with just what we need to recalibrate on a cellular level. And that's why the cell salts in the celery are so effective. It does have a highly detoxifying, it is definitely, you might want to work with it a little bit slowly, but it's transformative. It will transform your molecular structure.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing on that. That's a multidimensional New Earth perspective on the power of celery juice. I've actually been drinking it since the beginning of this year, and it's wonderful. It really is. It makes us lighter. And so, when we're thinking about, oh, hey, I got that person's telepathy. Well, I'm going to attribute it to that cellular detox that's going on. It's so much more than a cellular detox. It is, as you said, working with that crystalline structure even more. And I love that it's available in most grocery stores now. If you go and look in the raw juice or the pressed juice section, you'll see celery juice. That is really, really good. And if you have a juicer, then grab your celery stalks and get busy. Very, very good. Thank you for sharing that. And then the bioplasma cell salt. I've never heard of that before.
It is, again, it's a mixture of 12 cell salts. And I'm giggling because, again, you just can't make this up, right? It's a mixture of 12 cell salts, and here we are breaking it down, the 12, 12, 12 with 3, 3, 3.
Oh, yes.
So it's a blend of 12 cell salts. So again, it's assisting the cells, it's assisting the body on a cellular level. So when we're having, and many of us do experience some significant, bodily symptoms when we have the galactic, the cosmic, the solar, the human, when we're going through upgrades or when we're very, very sensitive, the cell salts assist with this integration, and they protect our cells. So they act as a buffer to the lower frequency vibrations, specifically towards things like the lower electromagnetic frequencies. So cell salts act as, again, like a barrier, and again, they assist with that, becoming crystalline. So, like I said, it's a mixture of 12 cell salts that make up the bioplasma. Yeah.
Very good.
And
all
celery
right.
juice, let me just, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. I wanted to say something quickly. I'm looking at the time, but I wanted to just about the celery juice. It is best to have it, juicing it as much as you can. When you're traveling, it's great to get it fresh, but it doesn't have a very long shelf life at all, and so it is best to have it fresh. But you can also, if you have selenite. This is a little tip for everybody. If you have selenite with you and you aren't able to juice it fresh, if you carry some selenite with you and you put your intentions into the celery juice with the selenite, it amps it up even another notch. So
you're not putting the selenite you're using, maybe you have a wand and you're putting the wand near the celery juice. Is that what you mean?
So, yes, you don't know. Selenite's very, it's very soft, so you don't put it in water.
Don't put it in water.
But you can have a small chunk of selenite. It doesn't even need to be a wand or a slab, or you can just have a very small chunk, and you can place it next to there for, overnight, or or even hold it while you're drinking it. Yeah.
Great. All right, so get your juicers out, everyone. Beautiful. Okay. We're going to take some callers because you want to do, it's not a full-on reading, but you can tell people, some things if they may have questions about their crystals that they work with.
Sure.
Before we get there, I want to give people an access point to you. You do crystal readings, personal crystal readings, and you've got a very special offer that is a crystal reading. And then you send a personal elixir as well. So the elixirs are only available for here in the U.S. because you can't ship them internationally. There's a way that we could set up our shopping so that those who are international, maybe they just want a reading, we can offer that with you. But tell us more about your special offer because this is an empowerment for 2020.
Absolutely. Okay, so the special offer is the crystal readings. So the crystal readings, like I said before in the show, that we have a triad of crystals that really have been embedded in our DNA. We have, and so when I say a triad, there are 3 crystals that are within our personal frequency. Okay, so when we talk about the trinary consciousness, the trinary, the triad, the trinity, with the 333, we are vibrating to that frequency. So we each have 3 crystals properties that are within our DNA, and some of them might not be. They might not be awakened yet, or they still might be dormant. And so we also have a void frequency that we are here, just not karmically. It's more of what we need to integrate the most. So what I do is with the crystal readings is that the person just gives me basic information, really just their birth name and their birth date. And their date of birth. They can give me their current location and their birth location, and I tune into that frequency, and it's a specific formula, and you can't get it wrong because it's a formula. It's a vibrational formula, and then I'm shown which crystals are in their triad. So each crystal, like I said, has a specific message for each person, soul's path, and for their divine blueprint. So I used to do the readings where they were like 9 pages long, and they would just take they would take 3 hours to do. So I don't do those anymore. So now I send out an MP3 recording of the personal frequency crystal readings, and they're really effective, and they help so many people because they have so many suggestions as well on all different layers of how they can be of assistance, for that person to upgrade or fulfill, maybe to get through a shift they're going through. And the elixirs are, again, they're based on a formula. So the elixirs are the same sort of frequency, the same formula of that reading, and it's put into an actual elixir so that you have something that you can use with you wherever you go. You can drink it, you can bathe with it, and it again is assisting the cellular crystalline structure to just vibrate on your own personal frequency that is already encoded within your DNA. They're really popular. I can't keep them. I have a difficulty keeping them on the shelves because they don't. I'm not like others where you have an elixir and it stays for years and years. This is something for you to use, right away, to help you get through the shift that you're going through. And they are on grids. They if someone wants an external elixir, then I won't put an essential oil in. But if they if they want an internal elixir, I won't put an essential oil in. If they want an external, then I will, just because it resonates and vibrates on that same frequency. And we all know that plants and oil, flowers and herbs and, have a frequency as well. So it's a mixture of working with the crystallines and the frequency, the triad of the DNA of each person. And then sometimes I have other elixirs called Divine Love, Cosmic Shield, Transfusion DNA Repair, Antiviral, Trinary, and Heavy Metal Detox removals. So there are different elixirs, and so each person that does it, wants a special offer, they can choose which elixir that they want. So it's a great, it's a beautiful package. They work in tandem, with each other, and then they'll get an explanation as to what the elixir is for and so forth.
Yes, excellent. Okay, so you can work with your triad embedded in your own DNA and use these tools for a shift. Paige is here to assist you. She's a crystal messenger, and she will assist you with the messages for your transformation. Okay, it is related to our crystalline being, our Trinity consciousness. Let's go ahead now, and we have time for a few callers. So now, this is not a reading. What's the best way for people to ask you a question, Paige?
They can ask a question on any layer. If they're experiencing, a shift or a physical, if they're having a physical experience, if they're moving through a shift, if they have a question about the crystal that they're working with, or which crystal would maybe even, assist them at this time, we can start there.
We'll start there. Okay. We are going to Hilo, Hawaii. Phone number ending in 7135. Hi, you are unmuted. What's your name, please?
Aloha, Lauren. It's Amber Rose.
Hello. Aloha.
Aloha,
How
Paige.
are you?
I'm good. I'm doing really good. I'm super excited. First, I wanted to ask, are you doing an after call today with Paige by chance?
We will bring Paige back for a QCTV. We only do those on our QCTV shows. So,
Okay.
Paige, we'll talk offline, and we'll get you on a QCTV, girl. We'll be on video.
Okay. When I'm not on the road, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
First, I love all the information you've shared, and I very, very much connect to what you're speaking on. I purchased something at a crystal store that was actually put together in a wooden pyramid box. And I was just curious if you could tap into it, because I've followed my intuition just with the crystals, and I use them in my healing modality. But everything you've been saying, I almost feel pulled to just ask if you could tap into it. But there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 14 crystals in it, so.
Well, what is, hi Amber, I love your name.
Thank you.
What's being shown right now, actually, of what is, you are embodying and also emanating the golden frequency. So that golden, Christ or crystal light. And so, and so what I'm showing, being shown right now is that what this tool that you're drawn to is it's assisting you, to understand more of the quantum world, so that it helps you to understand yourself more. Because it's like you are transcending, all of the, you're transcending all of your senses right now. And so your soul is starting to lead the way and to be your guide. But I can see that what's, in this pyramid is that it's really infused with, just an enormous amount of energy. It's like profound, bringing about like sort of a profound spiritual sort of activation. But I'm being shown that it's assisting with the Christed consciousness, bringing it down to being embedded where you are, where you're located. I can feel it's exceptionally high, and that it's acting as sort of a channel of the Christed consciousness. And it's activating the sort of the higher crown, but it's also cleansing all of the bodies, all of the energy around it. So it's transcending the time. It's transcending. There is no like specific, let's say, timeline. It's showing me that it's assisting in all time. So that would be the quantum field. And
I
it's also telling you, oh really?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, there is something that's coming through that, that you're like sort of, what I'm being shown is like that you're going through this transformation also, where you're sort of restoring your balance, as you're reconnecting to your divinity. And without getting too personal, there just seems to be also someone that's clinging on to the past that's trying to hold you back a little bit. So you're going through a transformation, and that this is assisting you going through that transformation as well, because you have a potential to be an absolutely amazing healer. And if you've so I'm also getting that there's a golden healer that wants to work with you.
Okay.
And golden healer is part of the quartz family as well. So I'm not sure if that's the crystal that is in the pyramid.
It's not actually in this pyramid. It's not in it, but I think all of them combined, that's the one thing that it could. All these crystals I've looked up on all levels to the molecular cell structure on all bodies. Like when I looked them up on all levels, it's amazing. I'm like, wow. It saved my life. I walked into the crystal store on a day that I really was on the edge, and it drew me to it, and I purchased it that day. And yeah, thank you so much. Right. Thank you. That was more than I even bargained. Like, thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay. You're welcome. Yes, thank you.
Oh, that was a very cool story. Thank you. And isn't it amazing how walking into a metaphysical crystal store, wow, I know, there's reasons for that, and we are totally guided. All right. Paige, you are amazing, sister. Let's go to another caller, okay? Let's go to Serafina. Hello, Serafina.
Hi, ladies. Happy 12/12.
Happy 12/12.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy 12/12. Hi,
Thank
Serafina.
you.
Love your name.
Thank you. I just wondered if you're picking up on any particular crystal that would be helpful for me during this time.
Yes, absolutely. Right away, what comes through, which is a crystal that was mentioned a little bit earlier on in the show that I was shown at the beginning of 2019, and it's actually quantum quattro that's coming through for you, because what it's showing me is that it's the influence of it. It wants you to focus on your own well-being right now. It's sharing with you that, to recognize that, you cannot heal, anybody else. They need to want it. There's like sort of a synergy going on with you right now. Because you're going through like a multidimensional shift, and integration. It's sort of saying it's saying to you like that it's having a holistic healing for your soul right now. It's showing me sort of a complexity to you. So it's working with all the facets in your personality, but really like what you're hiding from yourself, maybe. So it's about like it's really deep forgiving yourself, and releasing yourself from any codependencies right now. It's saying that you have many resources to draw on. And it seems like there is one specific situation that you're wanting to resolve. But it's showing me that once you do resolve this, that you remember that you're invincible and that you're going to evolve, very rapidly. But there does seem to be sort of it's just showing me the inner child and this sort of this codependent shift that's happening for you.
Oh, yeah. And does it want to be used in a certain way?
It just has a message for you. And Quantum Cluster is not it's not a quote unquote easy crystal to find, but it's working. You can just call upon the energies of Quantum Quattro. Specifically, it wants to be working with you now through. I'm getting a date, January 12th. So it wants to work with you from now through that. So that must be significant for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Wow. All right. Thank you, Serafina.
Thank you.
Wow. So, Paige, so for those who are asking, how would one tune into the energies of a crystal like Quantum Quattro? How would we each tune in and work with that if we can't locate it or be in the physical with it?
Well, it's about becoming quiet, obviously within. So whether that's someone sitting under a tree, going for a nice swim, or crystals love, the vibration of nature, obviously, because we're, comprised of the same elements and minerals and properties. So being in nature is wonderful, but even if you can't, it's okay. If you're sitting by a plant in your home, just getting quiet for a moment and even saying the name of the crystal out loud 3 times, and then being open to receiving the properties and the frequencies of the vibration of that crystal. Remember that it's consciousness. It's a communication system based on frequency and vibration. So there aren't any filters or there are no filters or veils. It's instantly accessible with the purest of intentions. So really, it's just sitting quietly, saying the name of the crystal out loud, and extending your hands out even. I mean, I know we can put our hands on our heart, but this is about extending, outward to receive the frequencies. So, and then just allow the frequencies to come through and start working with the crystal. You will be shown, because it reawakens that dormant, parts of the DNA. So that's the most simplest way to connect.
Beautiful. All right, I feel so many are connecting right now in their own way, in their quietness, if we're able to quiet down in that moment. We're very present right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Paige. This has been a beautiful quantum conversation. I want to share your special offer with everyone. We have a quick link. Of course, you can get to the special offer on this webpage that you're looking at and watching this program, or there's a quick link. The quick link is bit.ly, that's bit.ly/Paige offer, and that's Paige, Paige with an I, offer. bit.ly/Paige offer will get you a personal crystal reading and you can work to activate and reawaken that DNA within you, that crystalline remembrance within you. Paige, thank you for this 12-12-12 celebration here in 2019. It has been it has been beautiful to be patient and allow for this conversation to manifest, sweet sister. As we say goodbye, would you like to share anything?
Yes, I think it's important that we, as we move into the energies of in 2020, we all know that we are going through a massive transformation that we've been preparing for. And the crystals are working so closely within us to reactivate all that we need to shift our consciousness, and that they're living beings, and they're living cellular memory on a quantum consciousness field. And we have access to this at any given moment when we allow the old programming to deconstruct. And I feel that it's so important. It's such an incredible timeline that we're moving in. So, the crystals want to work with us. The messages that they give me every single day is that they are assisting us, with becoming crystalline. And they're full of so much, the vibration in their frequency is just ready to spark off, to reawaken the stars, to the star shine, the stardust that's within ourselves. And so I wanted to pass this message on because they're such a part of us. And we have the potential to vibrate at such a high frequency and to create, to be co-creators of this new Earth consciousness. And I'm just so honored. I'm honored to be here with everyone in this now, as we devote our new timelines into the highest vibrational beings that we can be and that we are, and that we came here for this. So, and I want to thank you also, Lauren, for sharing this space with me, and I'm just honored that it all aligned on this 12-12-12, because it's such an amazing anniversary, and I'm so proud and honored of all the work that we've done these last 7 years.
Wow.
Truly honored to be here with you and all in this now. So thank you.
Thank you, and likewise, you are a new Earth pioneer, a new Earth leader, and I love it. And so thank you. As we go into this next new year, this next phase, I want to say one more time, recap those 3 crystals that you said we could work with for that highest trajectory into the new year. Those was amethyst, quartz, lapis lazuli, and pyrite. So that answers the question from Anne. Everyone, I hope that you are engaged with your crystals, embracing your crystals, sleeping with your crystals. Paige, now it makes so much sense when we sleep with our crystals. The dream space, oh my gosh, I've had flying dreams and jumping dreams, and it's really quite beautiful. So thank you for this quantum conversation, sweet sister.
Thank you so much. So much love on this gateway.
So much love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What a beautiful conversation on this magical gateway. How amazing to be here with all of you and Paige as we celebrate this beautiful, beautiful day of 12-12-12. And isn't it amazing that the full moon began at 12:12 a.m. on 12/12. Again, just beautiful numbers, synchronicity for all of us. And so as we say goodbye on this day, it is time to dance our way to the cosmic heart. Enjoy. For listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.